Hello, welcome to Williams and Blum. We are here on the 30th of November. It is a day late than we normally are. Everything kind of got jacked up this week with me being in Orlando late, and it's portal season for Bloom. Just a lot of stuff going on. So we're doing our shows on Tuesday, Thursday this week. Next week we'll be back to normal with the Sunday, Wednesday pods here as far as Williams and Blum go on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. We are, as always, presented by our friends at Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation, and our main man, Chris Clover, who does so much for us. And the appreciation we have for Mechdyne is unrivaled, and we think they're an amazing company. They have amazing workers there. We like to get up and go to their socials when we can, just shake the hands of them and tell them how much we appreciate being associated with them here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. So thank you to Mechdyne for bringing us Williams and Bloom on Sunday and Wednesday. I bring in my friend, my partner, my homie, my brother from another mother. His name is Brent Blum. He's rocking the We Will Collective hat. We are doing this live so those of you who want us to do live at a better time. We didn't promote it because we didn't know when we were going to be able to fit this in. So we just hit the button.
Let's go.
And we're going live, baby. How are you holding up during portal season?
Doing okay. Coffee is good. But no, everything is, it's stressful, but everything so far, we're doing okay.
Isn't it? I was having this conversation with my premium subscribers. Isn't this a no news is good news situation right now?
100%. 100%. Yeah. The less you hear, the better. And again, the portal hasn't opened yet. Everybody knows conversations are already ongoing, but the less you hear, the better. And I just real quick, thank you to everybody over the last 18 months that has supported us. C-Dub, I don't want to be dramatic. It would be real struggle right now without everyone's support because it's not going away. The market continues to climb. And so the fact that we are where we're at is thanks to Cyclone Nation and their support. There's no other way to put it because we'd be up a creek with no paddle right now with not for the collective and everyone's support. It's just part of it. It is now a part of the conversation. It's just like facilities, just like number of people who attend your games, just like winning. Unfortunately or fortunately, the way you want to look at it, the NIL is a part of the conversation, but we're holding on. We're doing okay, thanks in large part to all of Cyclone Nation to get us where we're at. And again, no news is good news. Let's hope it stays that way.
We'll keep you updated. We've been keeping our premium subscribers updated as much as possible. We don't know everything. I can't get everything out of Bloom. Frankly, Bloom doesn't know I don't think people really understand how this all works. Like, you're not like in the war room with these coaches. Like, it's crazy.
No,
like,
so let me just give you, because I actually Randy Peterson called me this morning, so there's gonna be a column that he's writing about what we're doing in the Register tomorrow. So I'll give everybody a kind of a hint of what we talked about. No, I am not the one who's making these decisions like I'm some GM, like I'm Kevin Costner in that movie.
That's what I was wondering. Are you like Belichick? Like, no,
our board has a lot of very smart football people, and essentially, just to get into the weeds, we have a budget that we budgeted every year for football, men's and women's basketball, and so we have an idea of what we have. And then it's up to our board to decide, and they're smart people of how that gets allocated based on what the need is, what the market is, and everything else. So no, as much as I get a chuckle out of it, I'm not the monopoly guy with just a bag of money calling people. Now we are, but without the fundraising, then these conversations can't happen. So that's kind of where I come in. But no,
that's where you're doing shotguns to raise $5K,
which I got lectured at by a couple people, but I'll do it again. I'll do it again, C-Dub.
And my response to that, to anybody lecturing you for it, would be like, he's doing what he has to do. Like, this is a crowdsource. You guys, I'm telling you, this is the Obama 08 campaign when all of a sudden these kids are on Twitter and they just turned 18 and they all start crowdsourcing. That's what Iowa State has to be. And unless somebody's going to step up and be like, hey, I won the lottery. I'm going to give you 10 million.
Yeah.
Or unless that like university coffers that we don't even know exist get opened up to you guys, like this is a crowdsourcing thing. It's just how it has to be.
Yeah, and the cool part is, C-Dub, after that K-State game, we had 1,200 Venmo donations. 1,200. A lot of them were $10 here, $20 there, but trust me, that adds up. So, yeah, thank you for saying that. It really does. Like, this is without of what we've done, even the dumb shotgun into the beer. The market's crazy right now, particularly at those positions we talked about. You saw the Duke quarterback go in the portal, not a surprise. He's got some monster offers. These guys, some of them,
Do these guys have
are
a
making
race? Like okay,
maybe,
so
yeah.
let's say Will Howard's in the portal. Sounds
Yes.
like the Washington State kid's going to be in the portal.
Yep.
Now the Duke kid's in the portal. So like,
The
does
Miami
Will Howard
kid.
need to make a decision fast
Yes.
because these spots are getting taken? Is it that type of thing?
It's a great point because yes, these offers are happening. It's your high level quarterbacks, but I can't imagine everyone has the same resources as some of the offers I've
Yeah,
heard.
so you're like, oh, Notre Dame's open. They pay the best. I got to go there.
Go there first. Yeah,
or my number drops.
Correct. I think it's exactly. It's just like NFL free agency or NBA free agency where there's only so many spots available. So that's why these guys are kind of racing to get in too. Blake Shapen, similar. And then I'm sure these phone calls are happening to all these high level quarterbacks, even if they don't announce their intentions, because tampering isn't even really legislated at all. So, yes, Chris, here's a fact. These quarterbacks, some of these SEC schools are paying more than what Brock Purdy is making right now.
Which is just crazy.
More. And so
it's anarchy.
I mean, it is what it is. But like I told Randy this morning, if we don't participate, you're going to lose. So it's like you can be mad about it, or you can try and compete until there's guardrails put up, and there's no guardrails right now.
Try and be a part of the solution, not the problem.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't love it either. Trust me. Like it's some of the conversations like, really, this is happening, but you got to do it. And thankfully, I really feel good about where we're at as of this second. Could it all change? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I feel good about where we're at.
There's fluidity in all of this.
The other part that I want to mention is it's not just the collective. These guys have such a good experience with the coaches, their teammates, the Iowa State administration, the facilities, that if we can at least get in the ballpark for some of these other offers, we're going to be fine. And that's what we can't.
What do I always say? Playing time matters.
Playing time matters. Playing time matters. And we're never going to be first in this NIL thing. We just can't be dead last. And because of the progress we've made, I think we're at least now with our peers in the Big 12. And if that's the case, Iowa State can win a conference championship. We hold on to these guys next year. So let's keep on keeping on. If you thought about it, gifts are still matched until the end of the year. We're going to make an announcement at some point that we made enough progress. We're actually going to increase that gift total, which is great. So that announcement will be coming. So there's no shortage in opportunities to help the cause. And what we do today will impact Iowa State for the next couple of years. I truly believe that.
I would also add, and then I want to move on and talk about some actual games. But
yes,
I think that I was talking with a good friend about this yesterday, who, and this friend also is very smart with all this, in the know. That sounded like Kim Mulkey.
Hey, Kim.
In the know.
In the know.
So I just think really that it's why I always have the caveat, like, as long as Matt Campbell's at Iowa State, I like their spot. And not that they couldn't hire the next head coach who would do a great job. That's not the point. I think Matt and his staff have a really good plan with all of this, which I think is important. I think it's really important that you know where you're at, you know the type of fan base you have, you can press the right buttons, you know how to do it. And Otzelberger is the same way with men's basketball. If I don't know as much about the women's NIL thing, so I don't even really want to comment on that because it feels like it's like a year behind, but it's coming. Like I'm not as in on that. But I think both of these, the men's basketball and football program at least, like there is a set plan. They know what they want to do, and they are going to try and execute it. And, man, I trust both of those guys to make their – and I think, like, TJ's knowledge of Iowa State is so critical right now. And Matt's the second most tenured coach in the Big 12 now. So, he knows, like his birthday was yesterday. What is he, 44 now, 45? Yep. But like
44.
He was 36 when he took this job. Like this is where he, if Matt Campbell were to retire, he's the Iowa State guy. He's not the Toledo guy. Like he's not the, D3 guy. Like, he's the Iowa State guy who should probably have a statue when it's all said and done with what he's done at Iowa State. So I think these staffs have really good plans in this era. And selfishly, I wanted to point out we're doing a lot of reporting on this stuff for our premium subscribers as much as we can. But like I keep telling them, no news is good news, and there hasn't been a ton of news thus far.
And I think just kudos to the entire, I know it gets the buzzword, but the culture of Iowa State is so good right now that these guys aren't looking for reasons to go somewhere else. There are certain schools where guys just want to get off the ship.
Yeah.
Dion right now. But
we called that on this podcast.
But that's where I keep coming back to. We don't need to be leading the race. We just have to be in the ballpark and give all of these guys that want to be here reasons to stay. And you don't want it to come down to where you're 5, 10, 20 times behind everybody else. If we can be in the ballpark, I firmly believe the future's never been brighter for Iowa State. And the NIL thing doesn't have to be so scary. It really doesn't.
Can you answer one question for me? And I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this, but you're a professional. You can dodge it if you want. So, like, I reported yesterday to our premium subscribers, and this information did not come from you, that multiple Iowa State players have received, six-figure, maybe plus, I don't know the specifics of the money, offers from other schools.
Yep.
How does that happen? Like, is it a coach from another school calls like a dad? Is it the collective guy like you? Because I know for a fact you're not making these calls because Iowa State is not in the position to be poaching players. Like that's not Iowa State's thing. But one, how does it happen? And two, like how do you guys find out about it? Does the player come up to Matt Campbell and be like, "Hey, I just got $1 million offer"? Like what is that process like?
Yeah, so it's not that complicated. Essentially, whether it's the collective or I'll just say people close to a program can reach out to a parent or Chris, like we've talked about now. A lot of these guys now have agents. So
it's actually easier if they have an agent, right?
It is. Yeah. So the parent gets a call, the agent gets a call. They present the opportunity to the kids. So they might say, "Hey, I got in touch with somebody from the XYZ collective or somebody close to this program, and this is what's floated to you at this number." And what coaches can't do is the coaches cannot present the contract amount or the transaction amount. What they can do is they can share, "Hey, guys on our team got this past year," or "We're looking at guys at our team that are going to get this amount this year." Not specific to them, but you can share information. So even if a coach gets involved, they can say, "Hey, one of our quarterback this year got X amount." And it's kind of a wink, wink, nod, nod of, "Well, I'm not telling you what your offer is. This is kind of what the ballpark is for our guys." And so everybody knows what their budget is for the most part. And so there's a lot of information sharing back and forth, but technically the transaction offer has to come from somebody unaffiliated with the actual program.
Because we're paying for their name, image, and likeness and not pay to play.
You got it. Thank you. Yeah.
All this fucking bureaucracy. I'm sorry, I don't use that word very often, but God, like
it's and college football, as you know, C-Dub, college athletics in general is a very small world. So word gets out really fast, and a player get an offer, and there's nothing stopping them from telling their current coach what's going on. And
this guy called my dad and offered me $600,000 or
absolutely. So that's how it happens. And yes, you're right. Not shying away from it. We've had multiple guys get 6-figure and above offers here in the last 10 days. So that's up to us and it's up to everybody. Again, do we need to be dollar for dollar? I hope not.
I'm telling you.
But
I'll tell you how to fix it right now. Like, whatever. You guys need to start treating yourself. I'm telling you, this is the roadmap. Matt Campbell, listen to me. You guys need to go and start poaching these FCS programs and be like, you don't have to bus anymore. You can ride a charter jet, and we're going to pay you $50,000 to come here and play offensive line or whatever. Like, that's got to be like, there's got to be a way to replenish your roster year in and year out. That's not just freshmen all the time. And I'm telling you, I'm looking around. The poaching ground is going to be the Big 12, the ACC, because they don't have the money that the SEC and the Big 10 does. So
here's the other question I just want to that I shared with the Des Moines Register. Listen to me, it sounds so official, aka Randy. Where are we at compared to our peers? Well, I'll just be honest. Our goal this year, C-Dub, for all of our sports. So again, we mainly support football, men's basketball, women's basketball. Everybody on those teams gets some NIL compensation from We Will. Want to make it known that they are open to other NIL opportunities as well. So a lot of these guys have other deals with the T-shirts, with you guys, with things like that. But long story short, our goal this year we raise a year in advance. So what we're doing now, we're fundraising for next football season and next basketball season. That gives you an idea of how we operate.
Yeah, it's like you're running a business with a budget.
You're in our goal next year is to have a budget for our athletics programs above $4 million. Okay. This year, we were at about $1.6 million, $1.7 million. That's how much we've needed to grow to compete.
That's aggressive. Good job.
Yeah. Everybody. So and thankfully, thanks to everybody out there, we feel good that we're going to be able to get to that number. And we need to, honestly. That's how you
compete. A lot of hard work
with the big dogs. Now, the big dogs, C-Dub, they have, I'd say those SEC schools are working with 10, 12, $15 million. So while we have increased, what the SEC schools can do is they can offer X amount of dollars in the six figures for a depth piece for them. For them, it's a depth piece.
Correct.
Where
I see a problem with some of these young people, and it really, really disturbs me. There's going to be scenarios, and there probably already has been, where a guy is really happy at Iowa State. Just using Iowa State as an example because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But they really love it here.
We've been okay so far.
Yeah. But they really love it here. And they've got a nice little career. They're getting a great education. Maybe they met a girlfriend that will someday be their wife and they'll have babies with. They've got good – no, hear me out. Hear me out. This is a psychological deal about this thing.
You always go weird on us here.
Listen to me. Nobody's talking about this, okay? I'm going to do an op-ed on this, and I'm going to submit it to your boy Randy. I love Randy, by the way.
I love Randy, too.
This is a real thing where a player is completely content, and then we all have a side of our brain where greed comes in. Mm-hmm. And you get tempted by this offer coming from an SEC school that seems too good to be true. It's this insane amount of money that's life-changing money for me. At least I think at this point when I'm 19 years old. Maybe it's $300,000, which is really, over the course of your life, not life-changing money. But at that age, it feels like it. And you are tempted to leave a spot that is very good for your mental well-being. It's a great culture. Your friends are here. It's been nothing but good for you. But we all make bad decisions. And at many times when you're 19, your brain is not fully functional, if you know anything about the human body. And a lot of these guys have great support systems. They have awesome parents. They have great families who can help them make these decisions that are best for them, and they do it. Many of them do not. And this is an added stress to an already very stressful because, Brent, what we're doing now, this is not the NFL free agency where you have a collective bargaining agreement and you have a players association that is working for you. Mm-hmm. Nobody's looking out for you. They're trying to buy you because they think you can help them in some capacity, and nobody truly knows what your value is because there's nothing intact to show that. So while we think it's player power, I would actually argue it's the other way around. And I keep putting myself in and I had a great family, awesome parents. They would have been right by my side helping me make a decision. But as you well know, a lot of these guys do not. I don't know. I've been thinking
That
about that
no,
aspect of
that's
this a lot lately.
that didn't even dawn on me, but you're right, because it's such a sprint, there's no way to know what situation you're getting into.
Yeah.
You just see the dollars. It's not like recruiting where you'll go on multiple visits and you'll have multiple phone calls. A lot of these times, these groups, and I'm sure it's happening right now, they'll say, "This is it. If you don't take it, somebody else is going to," and you have no way to know.
And a lot of these these mid to low level Big Ten SEC jobs are going to keep coming open every year. So like they're trying to stave off being fired, and they're offering more. I heard about a basketball program. Iowa State lost a basketball recruit to a coach that did this and got fired the next year. But they offered an obscene amount of money to a player. He goes there, guy gets fired. And then another guy comes in, and that contract is all but void in a weird, because again, there's no, like, these are, you guys can't like write like guaranteed money to these guys. This is not the NFL. I don't know. I've been thinking about it a lot. I feel bad for those players that are being recruited for depth pieces like you're talking about, because I'm guessing it's not being sold to them as that.
No, but if they've got the money. I mean, would you rather just get an 18-year-old freshman you're not sure about, or get a guy that started in the Big 12?
Yeah, and been good.
You don't tell him, "Hey, you're not going to play," or we're not counting you to be a starter, but we're going to pay you like one.
Yeah.
And then what? Yeah. So these guys, and that's where, again, the Iowa State culture
it's huge. You
because
can't do it without that.
They are, if you don't have a coach in place right now, I can't even imagine. You're going to lose. You would, like, look at Indiana. Indiana's lost like 20 guys in the last 3 days because there's nobody to keep the fort together.
Dude, I'm telling you, those middle to low end jobs in those leagues are going to be terrible.
Wouldn't want it.
I would much rather be at Iowa State, Kansas, Colorado, Arizona than any of those. Take $2 million. Like, if you're a smart coach, the last thing you want to do is be the bottom of be the Carolina Panthers in the SEC. You do not want that job.
Yeah, well, look at what happened to Frank Reich. You're right. It's a great point. Yeah. So, long story short, thank you, everybody. We're getting by.
I hope I didn't derail your, like.
No, you're right. You're dead on.
I'm not criticizing what you guys are doing. I actually think, because I'm saying, like, I'm very protective over. I am a player power guy, but I think a lot of this is a facade to say, like, oh, look at all this freedom we're giving you. This freedom is not realistic in any other sport, because you have contracts and you have things that protect you, and there's nothing of that for these kids.
So here's one other thing that I will hopefully tell the masses is, one thing we always want to do with the Iowa State student athletes is be a resource for good for them. So not only are we helping them with the compensation, which is the base level, but then we've got volunteer CPAs, financial advisors, attorneys, marketing folks that we set up with these guys if they have questions.
That's great.
So it's not just here you go. We're looking out for them, and hopefully for them. Just to tell you a quick story. I'll have now multiple student athletes reach out to me that say, "Hey, I got presented this NIL offer from this company that I've never heard of before. Can you vet it for us?" Absolutely. That's what we're here for. We don't charge them for that. Awesome. At the end of the day, we're trying to be helpful to their experience. And that's where Iowa State can come in is, we're never going to be top dollar. But if we can help make your Iowa State experience that much better, either through compensation, through helping other local youth organizations, or through getting you hooked up with the right CPA, attorney, etc., I'm on their team. I'm not there for, just so you're an expendable player. We're there to make their lives better, and hopefully we can impact them beyond just the dollars and cents.
And you guys have a great board. I know everybody on your board, and
wonderful.
It couldn't be full of better people.
I'll say this: I
adore them.
Super smart. So they get it. They get Iowa State. They know what we're working with. The coaches have great relationships with our entire board. So we're doing this literally, I think, in the best way possible. And so we trust your dollars. We're going to take care of your dollars, and we're responsible with them. We're not just they're throwing it at things that may or may not work.
If I thought you were a piece of crap, I wouldn't let you. Honestly, like you are my best friend in the entire world, and I am open about that. But like, I also have strong feelings on this, and I wouldn't just give you guys the platform
I know you wouldn't. Yeah.
if I thought that it was garbage. You guys are doing great.
Well, and I would
And it's a
encourage.
lot of hard work that people don't see, where you and your wife are, up at the crack of dawn on Saturdays trying to, give coffee away. Like it's thankless. You take a lot of bullshit that is not your fault. The only thing I have to ask is, what is your situation with the kicker? Are we getting another kicker? Because Iowa State is not 7-5 without Chase Contreras this year.
I would love to keep Chase Contreras around. Unfortunately, he cannot stay. But definitely that is on the board's mind, C-Dub.
Dude, I'm telling you, you got to go out every year, get the best kicker, and get the best 2 offensive linemen from FCS and the best FCS linebacker you can find every year. I don't trust FCS D linemen; they're not big enough. I don't want FCS quarterbacks because I'd rather just raise them up in the system like you've seen with Rocco. That's what you got to do. 2 offensive linemen, 1 linebacker, and elite kickers from FCS. That's the only portal hopping Iowa State needs to do.
By the way, not enough credit given to Jaden Higgins was an FCS receiver. How good was that guy this year?
Dude, he's a pro, by the way.
100%.
He's an absolute pro. Okay, so I want to go thank a few of our sponsors, and then I wanted to talk about this Kansas State game again.
Yes.
Because I watched it again last night, and Higgins was one of the things that popped for me. Thanks to our friends at Kelderman Manufacturing. It's laser cutting season. If you are an engineer out there, you need laser cutting for anything. My guy, Kelderman Manufacturing, down there in Oskaloosa. Phenomenal dudes, huge Cyclone fans. Kelderman was just amped up during that Kansas State game. Texted me the other night. Kelderman.com. Check them out today. Also, our friend Hopewood, hopewoodjd.com. We are coming up on the new year. Get yourself a will in a day. Use the promo code Fanatic for $50 off with my friend Hopewood.
If I don't get any sleep, I'm going to need one here.
Well, yeah, Blum needs to.
I need a will.
You better get that in before the insurance companies can.
Yeah. Don't listen. Hey, Colin Newell, don't listen to this.
Dig into your stuff. So I watched the Kansas State game again. Just for you guys to know, the rest of the show too, we are going to do Little Bowl projecting, and we are going to talk about Iowa State's men's basketball game at DePaul on Friday night. Rewatched the K-State game. The offensive line, I said this on Tuesday's show, the offensive line was unbelievable. Just totally dominated that football game. Here's the thing, and this is a bigger picture, and you brought up Higgins. So I think like game 1 to game 12, who improved the most is Jaden Higgins, is probably top 3 for Iowa State. Like that's a guy who now, in my opinion, looks like an NFL receiver. Not an NFL type receiver. He is an NFL receiver down the road. It'll be fun to watch him develop even more in the offseason. Iowa State may have the best 1-2 punch at wide receiver with Higgins and Knoll going into next season. Jalen, we all waited for that breakout moment for him, and he had multiple ones this year. Love where Iowa State is at in that position. But I was watching that game back, and I just couldn't take my mind off of the tight end run blocking and the offensive line. And I just really blown away by the job that Clinton did as well, because that's a group the first couple weeks were like, they weren't bad. We all saw improvement. We all saw like, okay, the technique, the scheme, everything is getting better. But by game 12, is it fair to say Iowa State's a top 4 for sure, I think, offensive line in the Big 12. Now, they're still not elite run blockers. They're not these maulers, but that takes time. That takes recruiting. Technique-wise, protecting the quarterback overall, I think they end the year at top 4 line in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. They protected well all year, and I thought Rocco helped them a lot with being pretty nimble in the pocket at times as well. And then towards the end of the year, run blocking ended up being pretty good. Now, Texas is Texas.
They're good against teams of similar rosters.
Similar roster. Yeah, top 4, I don't know. I mean, that still seemed maybe a little high, but I think there's real potential there. And I think the great part, C-Dub, is there were some guys that are young that were going to play and they got hurt. Like Haser, big fella. can step in. They've recruited pretty well there. James Neal came along extremely well. And to your point, you get Steve-O back. Ben Bramer turned in by the end of the year, went from a guy that wasn't much of a blocker at all when he first started to he was really good at blocking. You look at his pass block and run block grades, got significantly better. He can play every down. And Moore and Burkle and you're going to lose Easton Dean at that spot, but you got to feel really good with and Abu was quick to credit his offensive line and tight ends as he should have been because they're the ones that made that happen. My favorite clip of that game is Abu's first run for the touchdown.
I know where you're going.
Bramer and Klotz are running down the field together, and they're celebrating like hooked arms. And
is Klotz back?
Yes.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, I thought honestly that guy, he got put on scholarship, but he may be the best. He started catching balls too. I mean, he's a great athlete. I'm big Steve-O guy.
The other note that I took was that low-key the benching of Miles Purchase in the Kansas game for the first half. Oh, benching sounds harsh. He was still playing in nickel packages. Like, he was still out there.
And John Tez came in and played great. Williams.
Correct. But, yeah, and I called him. Remember after the UNI game, I said, who's 31? I want more 31. So I'm clearly on his team here. Purchase, I would argue, since that moment, of coming back and starting the second half versus Kansas has been on the level of TJ Tampa.
Big praise, but you're right.
I don't know if that's why. I don't know. All I know is when I've watched these games back, so like again, what I like to do is I watch it, I make my own notes, and then I go to Pro Football Focus, and I like to see like, okay, is what I'm seeing accurate like to what they're grading these guys? Purchase has graded out consistently better than Tampa since that game.
And it looked, I mean, he won the game.
Yeah.
He made the play at the end. And nothing against
he's hitting
TJ. He's hitting.
No, it's nothing against TJ at all. It's this other guy has raised the bar.
And that's what makes you excited.
And that's a hard spot to play opposite of TJ where they're not throwing to all the time. So you're getting twice as many balls as you normally would because they don't want to throw at TJ.
Well said. And I think early in the year, he kind of got picked on for that reason, is they weren't throwing at Tampa at all. And then you didn't want to throw near Jeremiah either. So you're dead on. I thought Miles came on big time at the end of the year, and he was one of the MVPs of that game. I thought he may have been. Him and Bacon were both really good.
Poor Bacon. Had those
too dry. I know. We played so well.
God, but it's like snowing. It's, poor
guy. But that's the exciting part about next year, C-Dub, is you lose TJ, who, again, will be a first or second round pick, but you feel okay about it because you got Miles sliding over.
Yeah.
And then John Tez Williams, Terrell Crosby, and I think Darian Porter's going to stick around. I don't know that for a fact yet, but
it sounds like it. That's what I heard too.
Then you got guys there, and if Coop comes back, Verdone, Bo doesn't get talked about enough. That guy, his last 6 games, look at his numbers. It was silly.
Incredible.
Guy had like 16 tackles in the snow, and this story will come out someday. Bo is basically playing with one shoulder right now. Like he is a complete warrior. He's one of my favorite people. Bo doesn't get enough credit for, he's literally put his body on the line to be one of the best players in the conference. And he deserves more recognition than he has received. The last 4 games, he was absolutely a huge part. Now he's even gotten better in coverage. I'm team Bo Freeler. But it makes you really optimistic about next year because you just getting hold on to these guys, and so far so good. You got some talent on that defense that's not going anywhere.
I want to give a shout out to my friends at the Iowa State University Foundation. If you are looking to make a charitable donation before the end of the year, I'd encourage you to go to MoveWhatMatters.com. Every year I make donations to the marching band just because I've become to really love those guys. It's kind of become a thing where like I'm like the band's mascot in a weird way. They always tweet at. It's fun. I love it. I love the band. I will always to veterinary medicine. My boy Dirk's been up there a lot. My wife graduated from there, the Greenlee School of Journalism, and of course our friends at the Ivy College of Business at Iowa State who support us here as well. So go to movewhatmatters.com. Be a well-rounded Cyclone today. Also want to thank Gravitate Co-working. You can check them out at gravitatecoworking.com. Again, a lot of the same conversation here, but if you're considering making a change in 2024, maybe you need a change of scenery for your workspace, remember our friends at Gravitate Co-working. They are big Cyclones. They are big supporters of what we do here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. All right. I am projecting, this is very loose. This is probably the least confident I've ever been going into a bowl. I'm projecting Iowa State and Memphis, but I wouldn't go ahead and book your trip is what I'm trying to tell people. It just seems to me, I'm going through here like who's going to want Iowa State, and it feels to me like it's been long enough where that group is going to be incredibly aggressive. If I'm Jamie Pollard and I'm politicking to get in any bowl game, it is Memphis. I would rather be lower on the pecking order than go to Houston 2 days after Christmas or to Phoenix the day after Christmas. This is the best thing for Iowa State's fan base. People can drive there. You're going to get 25,000 people at least if it's in Memphis. That is my ballpark leader right now, Brent. But again, I am saying this with no inside information. Nobody seems to really have a clue. Because it's kind of up in the air. What do you think about the bowl game?
Yeah, I would agree. It sounds like Alamo is not going to happen, by the way. So I think we can cross that one off. I'm okay with Memphis. Again, I just wish it was anybody but Memphis, and it sounds like Memphis may be there on the other side. Nothing against those fine
I hate
people.
that.
You just played them. And again, you don't – 6 years ago now, I guess. That was 2017, right, when you played Memphis. Fine people. Again, full stadium. The actual game was really fun because you had 50-50.
I've said numerous times that's the best neutral court sporting event other than a Big 12 tournament against really Kansas cool. I've ever been to.
And all the members will go, where did you all come from? Hopefully they're prepared for Busch Light this time or, because they can't get Ames Lager down there.
Last time we did that deal with Jerry the King Lawler.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I had the energy to pull off any shenanigans like that this time.
And I'll be curious with Iowa State fans will travel. They always travel. I think it'd be hard to match the numbers from that year, although this team deserves it, the support for what they've done and what they're going to continue to do. Again, I just wish it was anybody but Memphis, but I can get over that because Beale Street is fun. They take care of you there. People care, most importantly. And I think it just fits the travel schedule really well. I wouldn't complain that much about Houston. I think it'd be fun to play an SEC school. I really do.
Yeah.
Iowa State beating an SEC school it gives you a little bit of, ammo there. But
part of me though, I just don't think these bowl game results matter.
I don't either.
I mean, if it's Iowa State and no TJ Tampa or if you're playing whoever and their quarterback's out, it's like it does make the offseason better. Like I've experienced losing a bowl game and winning a bowl game, and it feels completely different. But
that even changed. I agree that I'm really curious what happens to the bowl games at large after next year when the playoff goes to 12. Because then I don't know. They're going to have to figure out a way. Chris, you brought up the idea, was it September, that these bowl games or these sponsors of these bowl games need to do NIL.
Yes.
It's going to get to the point where that's going to be one of the sticking points of what you can do to get guys to play.
At some point, like if the players are ever employees or whatever, like they may collectively bargain to not play in bowl games unless they're getting bonuses. Like that's the reality of this. If their agents are smart, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious in general what happens to those lower level bowl games. But shoot, the great thing is it's always good to go somewhere else except Central Iowa in late December. And I think we don't need to overthink this.
I love Memphis. Let's go.
Memphis is great. And I'm telling you, the best part is you run into people that you weren't even expecting to run into, and it's just
best.
A party.
And everybody just goes to one spot. That's what's great about it. Orlando sucks because it's like nobody knows where to hang out.
Yeah, I mean that's why Memphis. At the end of the day, the game is the game. Like that's why we all go. but it's also the extracurriculars of what you remember most. And I think that's worth the trip to Memphis in and of itself because they care. There's a parade. There's a lot of establishments. I think the barbecue is better than Kansas City. Is
Oh, it
that wrong to
absolutely
say?
is.
Is that wrong to
No,
say?
I've always liked Memphis better.
And
a little spicier.
And it's a good time. And I think it drivable for fans. So yeah, at the end of the day, if you can't go to the Alamo Bowl, I'm okay with Memphis.
Our buddy Steve Kemp, who's a big supporter of everything we do, he's watching on YouTube, and he says, "Who wouldn't want that again? I would love to play Memphis in Memphis."
Yeah, I mean, do you know who's there? Do you know who the offensive line coach is?
Oh,
Jeff Myers.
Yeah. And then the receivers there
Jill
too.
Skates.
He's the guy who caught one in the nuts the other day. Did you see that?
He did catch one in the nuts. Yeah.
Yeah. Poor guy.
Poor guy. It's happened to the best.
Who's the head coach there right now?
Oh, it's the same guy that was there after that Norvell left. It's their offensive coordinator. I'm drawing a blank. He's been there like 5 years.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about that team.
So I mean, rooting wise for the Big 12 championship game, it's really not going to matter. I really don't think so.
Okay.
I don't see. Now there is a world where Texas gets into the playoff, and then another Big 12 school gets in,
which could bump Iowa State up.
Bump Iowa State up to maybe Houston or Pop-Tart. But
did you see? By the way, go back to Orlando.
Well, did you see the Pop-Tart is going to have the first live edible mascot?
Yeah, I did. And I actually really love Pop-Tarts. I mean, so it's a decent fit for me personally.
Sounds like Iowa might be down there as well. In Orlando.
That was actually fun the last time because the media room was just all my friends. Yeah. So like the Pop-Tart Bowl is one of there's 2 bowl games that I've been to that do it like old school bowl games where they actually are nice to the media and they don't hate us. In the Orlando Bowl, it's sick. You're in this hotel, and they have this giant-ass suite, and it's just all you can eat and all you can drink for the media guys, because that's what they used to do, Brent. There was a time when I first started that these administrators and coach, they actually liked the media.
They rolled out the red carpet.
Yeah, and they would be like, oh, man, you guys are the best, because they want positive things written about them. So Memphis does it like that, too. Like that, Memphis has that one iconic barbecue joint. It's like 3 nights before the game where they have a media thing and they just get you all full of barbecue. But now most of these places, it's like, screw these guys. Yeah. They're just dicks on Twitter trying to get some laughs. And I get it. I would hate the media too if I were
not arguing with that.
Yeah, but those are my 2 favorite. Like the Orlando one. But we were there the last time, and all the Iowa guys were there too. So it's like with all my buddies, we're all in one spot, which was really good, too, for coverage because everybody got covered double because everybody was in the same spot.
Because you know anything about the media, there's nothing the media loves more than free food and free beer.
Yeah, it's why the press box is all stink.
That's why the press box.
I tried telling you guys this.
It's still that time when you got big time by Jason Whitlock at the Big 12 hospitality.
Screw that guy. The biggest dick I've ever met in this industry. Steve says, so you actually like some bowl guys in suits. No, I'll correct you. Here's the guys I like. The bowl guys I like don't wear suits. They're the Memphis guy. And he's wearing overalls, drinking a beer, being like, hey, you want to come over and have some barbecue with me? Those are the guys I like.
Those are your guys.
The Orlando guys are literally like 80 years old, and they sit up there and they think that bowl game, the Pop-Tart Bowl, they think it's the Super Bowl because they've been to every one since it was the Blockbuster Bowl back in the 80s. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah. No, I'm always for hospitality rooms, and I will always go in a hospitality room. Doesn't matter what the hospitality
it's a lost art, man. The Big 12 used to do that better than anybody, and now the Big 12, now they're like, hey, you can be on top of the scoreboard to watch the game for the Big 12 tournament.
Because we would go, honestly, I'm not proud of it, but we would cover the Big 12 tournament, you and me, when we were younger in college, back when we were the old former Cyclone Nation days.
Old school.
It was the greatest 3 days of our lives. Iowa State got eliminated right away. We didn't care.
Nope.
We stayed. We'd sit courtside, and then we would gorge on free beer and free food as part of the media to the point where they're like, you guys need to get out of here.
That nacho bar over in the corner.
Bar, yeah. Drink all the free Sunkist we could during the day.
Yeah, it was amazing.
They're
That was
a
amazing.
little bit more. Once you're eliminated, now they kick you out.
Yeah, and like
They kick you
I
out now.
get it. I understand why there's this giant anti-media thing, but I also think that it's going to come full circle because, like, I can tell you, like, we will be there wherever it is because we want to be there for our subscribers and for our users and stuff. But they're like, if you're a local TV channel, do you know how easy it is just to call your sister station and be like, "Hey, we need somebody in Orlando to." That there is this aspect where nobody's going to cover you anymore if you're just a dick to them all the time. It's just the reality. That's not for us, but that for these corporately owned ones that need to save every penny possible. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now I'm going off on a
No,
tangent. That should probably
it's
be a
just at the
CW pod.
end of the day, more hospitality rooms. Everybody, who says no?
More hospitality rooms. That's the end of the story. All right, last thing. We got longer than I thought we would today.
And I got to
Iowa
get going. I got to run to Ames. So
Iowa State is playing DePaul Friday night in basketball. Terrible time slot up against real football games that matter. This DePaul team's bad. 1-5. Blum, you were assigned to get to know DePaul. I have not even looked at this game. What do we know?
It's been a rough go for DePaul
for
so
the Blue
far.
Demons.
The Stubblefield's been there a couple of years. None of them have gone great. They are not good on offense or defense. They did play a good South Carolina team to 5 points at a neutral floor. And they haven't. The problem is, though, Chris, they've lost at home to teams like Purdue, Fort Wayne, Long Beach State, and Northern Illinois. So all that said, Iowa State, I'm going to guess, will be a double-digit favorite going into Old Wintrust Arena. And I would imagine there will be a good contingent of Cyclone fans there as well. I think you're going to see a motivated Iowa State team. This is a DePaul team that they've got some decent size, but they're not going to overwhelm you with size either. I think this is a potential breakout game for Iowa State. And I'm not, it could be stressful. It's on the road. You never know what happens on the road, but I really like Iowa State in this spot. And I think you'll see the Cyclones really, really bounce back from a disappointing one against A&M.
Yeah. I think that's probably how I would read it too. The only caution is it's still a high major team on the road.
It is.
So
it's still a Big East team. Now it's not a good Big East team, but it's a Big East team, and they're on the road, and weird stuff can happen. This isn't Lindenwood here. Okay, it's like you got to show up. You can't just show up and win by 40.
I want to watch the guy I'm watching the most is Keyshawn Gilbert. I want to see what he learned in Orlando because I think he's a good ball player. I think he was wildly out of control for much of that tournament. And I want to see if the game has slowed down for him. Now he's been able to take a week, slow it down, and see what he learned watching tape with Schmitty and all the. Because I'm still very bullish on that young man. He didn't have a great tournament. Let's see how that bounces back. I also think Lipsy. It's probably unfair to judge Lipsy on day 3 of a tournament like that with the shape that his body is in. I think they bounce. I'm with you. I think Iowa State bounces back strong, and then all eyes are on the Cyhawk game.
Well, and then the thing you want to see as well is getting something from the mid-post region. I mean, Trey's been nursing that ankle. I don't think that got talked about enough. Trey isn't quite 100% coming off that injury. Maybe it's slowing him down a little bit. Hopefully he's closer to 100%. And then we'll see. I mean, see what you get from Omaha. I just want to make it known, Omaha has been awesome. He's going to get there. I'm telling you, he's going to get there. Great attitude, great dude. For him, it's more on the defensive side. You can't have the breakdowns on the defensive side. The athleticism is not a question. It's once he learns that space, he's going to get more and more minutes. So again, what I would caution Iowa State fans is don't sell the Omaha stock because he's an 18-year-old true freshman, and he'll get there.
Appreciate it, Bloomer. Get back to work. Go get us a kicker.
All right, I'm working on it. See you guys.
He's Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams. I want to thank all of our great sponsors for bringing us Williams and Blum here now 2 days a week on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network. We will be back on Sunday evening, back to our normal schedule next week. Of course, next week will be wild with Cyhawk women's basketball on Wednesday, Cyhawk men's basketball on Thursday, and then we'll get into that finals week, just kind of boring. But Sunday will be crazy because it'll be the bowl announcement, and we'll have all that coverage for you here on CycloneFanatic.com. My name is Chris Williams. Have a great rest of your